Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. He was Dracula in cleats. On this day in Steelers history, Hall of Fame linebacker Jack Lambert retired. Lambert actually called the Rooney family on July 8, his 33rd birthday, to alert them of his decision, but waited until July 11, 1985 to officially retire. A look back at Lambert. Jack Lambert was one of the most menacing linebackers ever to play in the NFL, known fondly as Jack Splat or Dracula in cleats. When opposing players looked across the line, they would see the fierce look in his eyes, the intense glare, the missing teeth, and there were times they didn't want to take the snap. "We're the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're supposed to be the intimidators," Lambert once said. Check out photos of Steelers Hall of Famer Jack Lambert, and with Lambert leading the charge, they were. Lambert didn't take well to others trying to intimidate, and when it happened, there was a price to pay. In Super Bowl X, Cowboys safety Cliff Harris taunted Roy Jarilla, patting him on the head following a missed field goal. Lambert didn't like it and responded by body slamming Harris to the ground. Remember, this is the guy who said this in regards to protecting quarterbacks: "It might be a good idea to put dresses on all of them. That might help a little bit." Lambert, the Steelers' second-round pick in the legendary 1974 draft class, was special right off the bat, winning the starting middle linebacker job his rookie year and holding on to it for his 11-year career. He won the NFL's Defensive Rookie of the Year that season, and 2 years later was named the NFL's Defensive Player of the Year and became known as one of the premier linebackers of his era, with a combination of intelligence, intensity, speed and range. Lambert was named to 9 straight Pro Bowls, was All-Pro 8 times, and a team defensive captain for 8 years. He played in 6 AFC championship games and was a member of the Steelers' 4 Super Bowl winning teams in the 1970s. Lambert was elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame as a member of the class of 1990 and was a member of the Steelers' initial Hall of Honor. Pittsburgh Steelers urged to sign former All-Pro defender. The Pittsburgh Steelers overcame some significant roster holes, especially at the quarterback position, to finish with a 10-7 record and make the playoffs last season. For this coming season, they have a future Hall of Famer in Russell Wilson under center, as well as Justin Fields, a man some still believe has potential, behind him. The Steelers may not look like world beaters on paper, but they do seem to have a definite playoff caliber roster. George Pickens is a capable wide receiver, and their defense continues to look strong after finishing 6th in points allowed in 2023. That defense is anchored by star pass rusher T.J. Watt, while safety Minkah Fitzpatrick, cornerback Joey Porter Jr. and Pro Bowl linebacker Patrick Queen will also have to be accounted for. But Pittsburgh could use one more reliable safety, and Christopher Knox of Bleacher Report urged it to consider signing Jamal Adams. After spending much of last season near the line of scrimmage and moving around the defense, Fitzpatrick should be back in a deep safety role in 2024, wrote Knox. That should come as good news for Steelers fans. The bad news is that Pittsburgh doesn't have a high-end box safety to play alongside Fitzpatrick. Damontae Kazee started 9 games in 2023 but allowed an opposing passer rating of 114.1 in coverage. Miles Killebrew is best cast as a special teams contributor, while free agent addition Deshaun Elliott can also be a liability in coverage. Elliott allowed an opposing passer rating of 140.8 with the Miami Dolphins last season. Adding another safety before camp would be wise, and the Steelers do have options. Jamal Adams is another intriguing option. Though coverage isn't his strongest trait, he's been a difference-making box safety in the past. Adams was released by the Seattle Seahawks, the team he has spent the last 4 seasons with, in March. Not too long ago, he made the Pro Bowl 3 straight times, and in 2020, he had 9.5 sacks, 14 quarterback hits, 11 tackles for loss and 83 tackles, 59 solo, in just 12 games. He has struggled with injuries since, and he played in just 9 games in 2023 while posting 48 tackles, 34 solo, and 7 tackles for loss. Perhaps Adams would be a serviceable and inexpensive option for a Steelers team that is hoping to capture lightning in a bottle and give itself a puncher's chance at reaching the Super Bowl, while the 35-year-old Wilson is still capable of playing at a high level. At the same time, another legitimate threat at wide receiver alongside Pickens is at least as big a need as another productive safety. There have been rumors the Steelers have asked about the availability of San Francisco 49ers wideout Brandon Ayuk, but all appearances indicate Ayuk and the 49ers want to get an extension done so he would stay put in the Bay. The pickings in free agency as far as wide receivers are concerned seem slim, unless Pittsburgh feels the oft-injured Michael Thomas will return to form. Thus, Pittsburgh will likely have to lean on its defense once again to get to the playoffs and do something of note there. Steelers' Cameron Sutton suspension sparks conflicting opinions on CB reunion. The Pittsburgh Steelers will be without veteran cornerback Cameron Sutton for the first 8 games of the 2024 campaign. And there will not be an appeal, Adam Schefter reported. Now, the question becomes, how do the Steelers plan to replace him for nearly half the NFL season? One relatively simple insurance policy would be a reunion with respected 3-time All-Pro Patrick Peterson, who remains available on the free agent market. Of course, Peterson turns 34 on July 11, sparking conflicting opinions on the likelihood of his potential re-signing. I still think that I wouldn't bet on that because if they would have preferred that option, then why wouldn't they have just done that instead of Sutton to begin with? Pittsburgh Post-Gazette reporter Brian Batko voiced on the Joe Starkey Show on July 9. Lumping Shandon Sullivan in with Peterson. You wouldn't even have had to deal with the bad look of signing him and the optics and the PR of it all, he continued. So that kind of makes me think that they actually prefer Sutton maybe as a player, or at least at the price point that they're going to have him at, despite not having him now for the first 8 games. Pittsburgh Post-Gazette colleague Ray Fittipaldo offered a different take on this matter during an interview with the morning show on 93.7 The Fan on July 10, however. Honestly guys, I think this brings the Patrick Peterson conversation back into play, the Steelers insider noted. Reasoning that he believes Pittsburgh expected a shorter suspension for Sutton. Obviously, there's going to be some adjustment there by the front office, he said. Continuing later, Patrick Peterson is sitting out there, you could probably get him on the cheap. So, I don't think that move is going to be made before camp, but I do think if they don't like any of their younger candidates early in camp, I think that's a move you could see be made in mid-August or something like that. In the case of bringing in Peterson or another veteran like Sullivan, training camp should determine the end result. As Fittipaldo stated, younger guys will likely get the opportunity to win the job early in camp. But if head coach Mike Tomlin and his staff do not like what they see, the longtime NFL mind won't hesitate in circling back to a trusted defensive back like Peterson. Batko called this a prime opportunity for undrafted rookie Beanie Bishop during his radio appearance. Initially, I thought he was probably the undrafted guy with the best chance of making the 53-man roster, because he was pretty productive in the Big 12 for the Mountaineers, he argued, adding that Bishop's age as a 24-year-old prospect could help him make a quicker NFL adjustment. Fittipaldo, on the other hand, was more concerned about the lack of experience behind starters Joey Porter Jr. and Dante Jackson. Josiah Scott has the most experience of any of those backups, but it's not a lot and it's actually from a few years ago, he said, including Grayland Arnold in the conversation alongside Bishop and Scott. Fittipaldo also reminded that Bishop has spent no time on an NFL practice squad, as Mike Hilton did before his rise to prominence in Pittsburgh. Even guys like that need a little bit of time to acclimate to the NFL, he explained. And you fan? What do you think of the situation of Cam Sutton? Leave your opinion in the comments.